All right, folks. Thanks everybody for coming today to the NOA Community Call number 5. It's already been 5 community calls. Can you believe it? Well, we have a lot on our plate today. The rough agenda is posted in the announcements channel if you'd like to follow along. But of course, if you have any other topics to bring up, then this is a great time to do so. Full attention of the community will be on us today, so let's do this. First and foremost, Nick and I have some great stuff to share regarding the legal investigations that have been going on. I have unfortunately had COVID for the last week and a half at this point. So I haven't been able to participate as much as I've wanted to this last week, but we've been very busy, the two of us, over the last few weeks, meeting with different law firms and trying to reach out to different network contacts, trying to find the best folks to get in touch with regarding organizing the NOA effectively. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Nick, who can give us a kind of a quick update on where we sit and where we stand. Nick, you want to let us know
Yeah,
what's been going on?
yeah, sure. So in essence, just to recap, we're trying to achieve a couple things. One, we want the NOA to be a risk absorption entity, not a risk transfer or risk amplifier for all of our members. So we want to make sure that whatever we do structure will protect our members as much as possible and direct any potential ire out there towards this entity versus each and every one of you. Secondly, we want the NOA to be able to remain operationally sustainable. So we need to be able to generate some form of revenue through the supernode, very small, hopefully, but in an overall nonprofit way. This is not a rent-seeking protocol or entity, but we do need to pay for gas fees and all the other associated costs of either developing new smart contracts, auditing, etc. So those are sort of the two key goals as we move forward with structuring. And we've talked to a number of firms, as Wander mentioned, from sort of big law firms to more boutique entities. And we've seen a number of different characteristics of these firms, from domain knowledge in blockchain, specifically within different parts of the blockchain ecosystem. So a lot of these organizations will, of course, discuss their blockchain expertise, but when you actually delve into their individual lawyer backgrounds, it can be highly focused on one specific area. And of course, they also have ancillary groups who maybe deeply integrate with regulators, stuff like that. And there's a lot of interesting combos that you find out there. And of course, different cost structures as well. So what we're trying to do over the next week and a half or so, we've talked about 4, we have a couple more in the pipe. I want to put together sort of a scorecard around where we think these firms lie, and of course, a number of dimensions. Come to the community when we have that sort of analysis complete, and then sort of put forward, top 2. We'll put forward everything, but probably the top 2 that we think are the best or the strongest, and the community can sort of make a choice on which we might want to engage with. Because the NOA does not have any entity structure as of now, myself and my business partner are willing to take that on if the community feels like that's the right move. I'll leave that up for you to decide, but we're willing to sort of paper the initial relationship. We need to do our own legal diligence anyways. And from there, once the entity is formed, we'll transition that relationship over to the NOA proper. I'm thinking that the optimal way to do this will be to sort of have an initial analysis process or project with the firm, try and keep its scope relatively limited so that we are able to basically come to the community with a plan as to a general architecture of how this will work and how the entity is just generally structured. From there, the cost for that will probably be I don't know, hopefully in the tens of thousands only. But once the actual project is scoped out and presented to everyone, we can then sort of have a more accurate view of what the actual costs will be for the final execution and drafting of that entity overall. And this is not a simple process, right? These are highly bespoke legal entities, so you're looking at mid 5 figures to low 6-figure costs, and that's why we want to try and phase this, so that we're not just saying, hey, we're going to just go forward and just throw a bunch of money at this. We want to make sure that we keep it phased and contained, and we give the community a total transparency as to what this thing will look like and the costs associated with it. And we may need to do additional fundraising to try and raise those funds to make it happen, but we have to do this right, or this turns into a situation where a lot of each and every one of us who's participating is exposed to a lot of risk. So that's sort of where we currently stand. I've had some really interesting calls. To this morning, for instance, we had a call with someone with a firm that has really, really deep staking specific experience. In fact, one of the lawyers is a member of the Proof of Stake Alliance, which is sort of a legal consortium focused on the staking industry in general. I don't have a sense as to their costs yet, but we're going to keep discussing this with them. They may be the right fit, but we still have a couple more firms to talk to. And like I said, we will come to you guys with that overall assessment and analysis, and hopefully we can quickly move from there to execute on this and have something that's fully prepared and set up for when the right infrastructure comes to the fore from the Rocket Pool team. And as we discuss things with either Swell or Obol or SSV, maybe we'll have other integrations coming online this year as well, or late this year. So that's the update for me.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it, Nick. I do want to quickly ask a very leading question, which I already know the answer to, but maybe not everybody here will. So I'd like to sort of go into just a brief detail on some specifics as to why we think that a legal engagement is necessary and rather than just saying, yeah, let's form an LLC and go for it, or we'll just register as a nonprofit and then go. So do you want to quickly answer that before we move on?
Yeah, sure. I mean, at a high level, we're the overall regulatory landscape is moving, right? It's constantly shifting, and with all of the recent blow-ups in the space, the SEC's eyes are definitely shifting in a much more focused way onto various entities in the space, and that includes staking. And we think that personally, it would be very, very irresponsible and just begging to be investigated if we were to simply deploy all this stuff immediately without any formalized structure in place, and even doing a minimal degree of legal work up front to try and be somewhat compliant will immediately put you on the right footing with the SEC or any other regulator that is looking at the space. They're seeing that you're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to remain relatively compliant, and that immediately will shift their eyes elsewhere. So that's the short of it. But I'm, of course, if people disagree, we're happy to discuss that in more detail, or have that debate. But that's sort of been our view. And just as someone who wants to be running my own compliant entity, it would be very hard for me, or I'm sure for many others, to actually be a member of the NOA if those legal guarantees weren't in place, especially since a lot of us are US based operators, and we need to we have the toughest regulatory environment. It is what it is.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, I also want to quickly hammer home something you mentioned kind of briefly earlier about the need for the NOA to be a risk absorber. The key here is that individual NOA members, the way I see it, no one should really be put at risk purely from wanting to collectivize. What we're trying to do is something that should hopefully be a public good, something that's open for the whole ecosystem and makes everybody's positioning better for the long run, helps the Ethereum ecosystem in the long run. And really, that's the kind of thing that no one wants to engage in if there's any risk associated with it, because it's already, we're stepping away from our own for-profit activities to kind of collectivize and come together and do this. So I think it's really, really crucial that the NOA find a good legal structure that will allow the whatever legal entity we come up with to be a risk absorber instead of it being passed on to the individual members. Um, that's really crucial to me from like an ethical perspective. I think that's really important. But there's a lot to discuss on this subject, and Nick and I have gone back and forth a lot on this. If you're interested in being a part of the discussions with the different legal teams, or if you have anything to add to the process, and we would love to hear from you, please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, or suggestions on firms that you think are really great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy to
We're kind of going at
talk to them.
this from whatever perspectives that we have, but we're charging forward because we don't have anybody else contributing right now. So if you would like to do so, then please let us know. So on that subject, I'm not seeing any comments in the chat, so I'm gonna go ahead and make a transition here to the next update that we have is going to be surrounding the Rocket Pool staking as a service tech. I don't really think a lot has changed here, but this is a good sort of seg into from the legal stuff. We wanted I wanted to sort of briefly discuss some we in the past there was some discussion surrounding the potential for starting operations manually before we actually got smart contract or automated infrastructure in place. And my thinking around that has changed a little bit, partially due to our discussions with the different legal teams. But the I'll cut it short and essentially say that I'm really starting to believe that especially the Rocket Pool staking as a service stack that they are building is going to be really crucial for our operations. I don't necessarily think that it's going to be prudent for us to start doing things manually. From a regulatory perspective, that's a little sketchy because we could be put into a category of, like a money transmitter or a bank or something. And, obviously that's not what we're doing, but that would be really bad from the perspective of legal risk. So, doing anything manually is we would kind of be putting ourselves at risk there. So, that brings us to the subject of automating our internal operations as a necessary step to getting up and running. On that subject, Nick, is there anything that you have to add about the Rocket Pool SaaS stuff? I don't think there's been any major updates on that, right?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, we had a recent chat with Langers. There wasn't a lot of specific updates on that. It was more about sort of the mechanics of some of the buyout provisioning stuff, where we want to be able to try and provide liquidity to the depositors in the event that they want to either, withdraw ETH or withdraw RPL over time. I don't know if they're going to. So I gave them some feedback, basically saying, hey, the more we can provide means of allowing new depositors to come in and swap in their assets in exchange for someone else who wants to withdraw, that would really alleviate some of the concerns I have around the impact of validator churn on operator profitability down the line when withdrawals are finally enabled. Requiring people to exit to then get their funds back is just extremely costly, and it can take months to make your money back on gas fees if it's an expensive environment. So those are some of the nuances we were discussing. Overall, the architecture is what it is based on the document that we shared. I don't think there are any major new updates, but if people have any questions right now about that overall architecture, happy to answer what I can. I'm not an engineer or anything, but have some familiarity with it.
All right, I'm not seeing anything in the chat right now, but if you have questions or on this or anything that we discussed today, feel free to post. We'll have some time left at the end for open discussion as well on anything that's not on the agenda. So don't worry if it's completely off topic. That's fine too. But given that I'm not seeing anything, I'm going to go ahead and invite Oshin Kine up to the stage. Are you? Let's see if I can drag you up. Nope, you're gonna have to do it yourself, Oshin.
I invited him.
Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you.
Hey.
How's it going?
Well,
Hey,
how are you?
Oshin. Let me give a quick introduction here. Oshin is one of the folks at OBAL who is going to be. Um, they just recently announced their Athena testnet, and they're getting very close to working on their distributed validator technology and getting that up and running to the public, so that it's this is some extremely exciting stuff. And Oshin is here today to um, coordinate with the community on setting up a workshop for everybody to get involved and get your test validators up and running on this testnet. I think this is a great opportunity for every NOA member, and I would encourage everybody, either on this call or listening to it later, definitely pay attention to the stuff that's coming out of OBAL surrounding their testnet. It's very exciting. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Oshin.
Great, thanks very much. Do you have the ability to share screen on community calls? I have a couple of slides that might
Oh, great
make things a little easier.
question.
If not, no problem.
I don't think, unfortunately, that there is a way to do that. We tried doing this in the past, and Discord's stage functionality, I think, is what gets in the way of it. There's,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's all
sorry.
good. We'll drop a link in the general chat or something for people to take a look at it. But
Okay.
Yeah, that
yeah,
works.
so hello everyone. My name's Oshin. I'm the CTO and co-founder at Obol. And some of you guys might be familiar, but we're working on distributed validator technology. This is the idea of a highly available validator. It in part takes the form of taking your like hot validating key and splitting it up into like a multi-sig and keeping, each of the pieces in different machines. We're rolling out our first testnet at the moment. It's called Athena, and we're trying to kind of basically onboard people. We had, I think, 130 people sign up and say they were from NOAA, and we had like 5,000 people sign up total. It was way more than anticipated, and we've been trying to figure out how to like onboard all of these people gracefully because with a regular Ethereum validator node, you're running it solo, so you can do it at your leisure, at your pace. Whereas to set up a distributed validator, you do have to come together with other people and do a DKG to create these private keys. So that like synchronous time, we were like trying to figure out how we could communicate with thousands of people and introduce them to people they don't know and have them create keys and go away again and set them up in their validators and don't like get lazy and stop taking part and leave two other people kind of who do want to take part hanging and not working out. So we decided what we were going to do is to partner much closer with the like existing orgs and with communities of people that kind of already know each other and already maybe even have like a working relationship together. And we hope that like rolling out distributed validators this way is, basically more successful. Because we tried, pinging randomers in a Discord and it didn't really work out. So with that in mind, I reached out to Nick and Wander about using NOAA as our like first test candidate because all of you guys run validators, so that makes you much easier to work with than there's a lot of people signing up that have never run a validator in their life. And we're not starting there. But the idea that we're hoping you guys might take part in is next week. We're planning Thursday at the same time as this call. We would do a workshop together. And the idea would be anyone that wants to take part in a distributed validator would show up to this call, and we would pair people up on the day. You don't. We'll Everyone can come to the workshop even if you don't plan to run the validator. We'll like split you up at the start with between people that are keen to take part in the test and people that just want to give a try of the DKG and see what the experience is like. But yeah, the plan would be 30 minutes, 45 minutes to come on, do a little bit of talk about, what is OBOL, a bit more about the tech, and then we would go and create keys with one another. And then yeah, any of the people that do want to go and activate these validators afterwards, we would happily supply the 32 girly ETH and would formally kind of bring you into the test net. Does that sound sensible? Do you guys have any questions? I see there's a hand raised.
Go ahead, Danny.
Good to speak.
Yeah, you've got
Um,
you're muted though.
To participate, hi, it's Danilo. To participate in this activity next week, would we have had to fill out the paperwork last time?
No, absolutely not. We have a type form here for you guys so that we can grab your discords and we can put you on a roll and we can put you into a private community call that will do. So Thomas and Chris from Obel are with me in the call, and yeah, okay, I can see he's already shared the PDF, and I think this is the type form. Yeah. So yeah, no pre-work going. You can just show up on the day.
Okay, that's all my question. Thank you.
Thanks for your question. So I encourage everybody to show up for this workshop next week. I think it's going to be extremely helpful for the future of validation is distributed validator technology, and OBAL is one of only really 2 teams working on this at the scale that they have. So I really do. This is going to accelerate the staking industry at large, and I really encourage everybody to show up if you can. Thanks so much, Oshin. Anything else to add?
No, nothing major, but I'm keen to see how distributed validator technology works for people like NOAA. The Rocket Pool Supernode is also super interesting. Keen to if anyone has links or there's more I can read about that, I'm keen to slide into their DMs and see how Obel can be helpful for that too.
Yeah, well, we have some materials posted, but Nick, actually, if you don't mind finding the PDF somewhere around,
no problem.
Reposting that.
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely think that it would be a great partnership if you had the opportunity to connect with Langers or Kane. I'm sure you could have some really interesting conversations.
Absolutely. I do want to kind of point out that we have a lot of questions. Actually, specifically, Ken has already asked a question about the staking as a service contract. So I'll go ahead and read it out for the call since we're moving back to that topic. Do we expect other protocols to also have the staking as a service white label contracts for us to use? For example, if I wanted to offer clients the ability to stake with OBAL instead of Rocket Pool, will there be a white label staking as a service contract for each protocol produced by each protocol's dev team? This is
for Obel, yes. Sorry, yeah, I saw Obel was mentioned, but yeah, we're working on these. We call them Obel Manager contracts, and we're kind of offering different features like, do you want to tokenize them? Do you want to make it ERC20? Do you want just a simple ownership contract? Do you want a splitter, etc.? So probably, I'd say, is the answer to that question on Obel front anyways.
That's great. That's awesome to hear, Oshin. That's actually something that we have not discussed with OBAL or the other protocols in depth right now. We sort of at a high level discussed it to answer Ken's question directly from an NOA perspective. We have sort of briefly discussed this at a very high level with a few of the different protocols. And the general answer seems to be either one of 2 things. Either one, like Oshin says, yes, it's planned and we're working on it, or 2, we don't necessarily have that ready right now, but we're looking into it, we're researching it, and this is a possibility for a grant from our ecosystem. So all of these things point, from in my sort of limited experience speaking to the other protocols at this point, it's sort of I think this points to a really positive atmosphere surrounding collaboration for this space. So I think it's pretty likely that we can expect there to be some effort put in by the various protocols to help us integrate. We will certainly have to do a lot of work on our own in order to make sure our systems are up and running well. But I think that the outlook looks good. All right, so before we quickly move on to the other topics today, does anyone else have any quick questions on the staking as a service stuff or anything for the OBAL network folks? All right, not seeing any hands raised, so we'll go ahead and move on. Next up on the agenda for today, I'd like to invite Ken up to the stage to discuss the DevCon panel. Ken, are you able to speak with us today?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Hey, we can. Your
Unclear.
lovely radio
Yeah.
voice yet again.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, guys, I've got some great news, which is as part of the DevCon conference that's coming up here in October in Bogota, we had submitted a proposal to host a panel discussion on from NOAA. NOAA hosted panel discussion about staking as a service providers, and the proposal we put, I'll get a copy of it if I don't have it already in general posted up there, but was an ideal to invite representatives from the various different protocols like OBOL, like Swell, like Rocket Pool, and SSV, or any of the other ones that are willing to participate on there, to come talk about what their protocol offers independent node operators like ourselves. And so I've been told it's a 90-minute segment that we get to invite the panelists. And I think ideally they were envisioning up to about five panelists. We could up to have five protocols. I don't think we necessarily want to exclude anyone, but try to have some number like that where we can ask them a series of questions that really this community can kind of help us frame and shape what questions we want, with the ideal really being that for node operators that want to run a professional node operating services like ourselves, that would allow us to be introduced to the protocols, understand what capability they offer, what additional features they might have, and it would allow somebody who's either listening to the presentation in real life or on YouTube and the replays afterwards to really make informed decisions about what partners they should choose as a staking protocol to use to provide Ethereum staking services. So it was really exciting. I was told by, or had read a lot on the DevCon development group, that they had over 1,200 submissions to present or host panels. And so I think we were incredibly fortuitous to be selected. And I think what really helped was that we partially received some of the Ethereum grants to set up the NOAA. I think that really helped in them selecting our application to be selected for a slot. I don't know any of the details yet about what day or when or what track it is. I did submit it under a couple of different tracks. They have a track on staking. They also had a track on financial aspects of Ethereum, and I submitted under both. I don't know which one they will accept us under or assign. That's kind of the summary and the good news. I don't know, Wander or Nick, if there's other comments we have. I mean, a couple of things that I could think of is we certainly want to get invites out to the staking protocols to see if they're willing to come and be a panelist on there. And I think we should ask both the protocols and our members what questions is it that would be most useful to ask this collection of panelists to get to the answers that we're trying to seek and try to find out in the space.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have some updates on that on my end. As soon as we received word that the panel was accepted, I reached out to all of the different staking protocol partners that we have engaged with, and so far we've received confirmation that Rocket Pool will be on the panel. It looks like Oshin or Colin from OBOL will be on the panel, according to some of their messages that they sent recently today.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Yeah. And we also have confirmation from Swell that they will be at DevCon, and they are looking into whether or not they can confirm being on the panel, but they are very excited for it, and they said they're going to make every effort to make that happen. We heard essentially the same thing from SSV. So it looks pretty good at the moment as to whether or not we'll have I think we'll have a very full panel. I don't think that there will be, any sort of major gaps there. I've also reached out to Lido, but we have not heard back from them quite yet. But if anyone has any other suggestions for protocols that you'd like to hear from in the staking space, please let us know. We can also, this isn't necessarily, within the original mission, I guess, of the panel, but there other staking organizations I would really like to get their. I mean, it was probably worth reaching out basically to places like ETH Staker and maybe ETH Finance to see what the community at large wants to know about staking and the different liquid staking protocols and what they all offer. So if anyone has any inroads there, please reach out.
Yeah, I think Nick Sarakish is interested in mentioned Stakewise, so we should probably consider chatting with them as well.
Yes, excellent point. So there's really, if you can think of others besides, I mean, Stakewise is another good one. I'm not sure that they have a lot of options available for art. As far as I know, they were still all internal. Are they? Does Stakewise have the ability for outside node operators to join at this point?
Yeah, they released that I think 2 or 3 months ago. They've onboarded I don't know, about 4 I think so far.
Oh, great.
Horston and Block Demon and some others. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, it looks like I'm behind the times then. That's great. All right, well, we will put that down on our list of people to contact. I guess at some point we'll have to cap it because it will be a little bit too chaotic if we have too many people up on stage. But we'll figure that out when the time comes. So on the subject of Bogota, I was discussing yesterday with Nick. Unfortunately, I don't think Nick will be able to make it to Bogota. You have a prior engagement, is that correct?
Yeah, it's a budding, a very close friend's wedding, and I just can't make it back in time.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, but so sometimes life doesn't get you what you want.
And always get what you
have
want.
A great time.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah. So on that said, we do need someone to host the panel. Ken and I have kind of gone back and forth a little bit. We haven't really made decisions at all, but Ken has some great experience hosting the Rocket Pool Twitter Spaces. I've been hosting these community calls, so I think that either of the two of us would be a good choice to host the panel. That said, I think that if at all possible, we should look as an organization to try and sponsor a couple people to go down to Bogota. There's a couple reasons why I'll make this pitch here. For one, we need somebody to lead the panel, and it's a big ask to have somebody, do the travel expenses on their own. But the other side of it is that, as we've mentioned before, earlier in this call, there's a few different initiatives that we have, not just on the immediate horizon, but down the line that are going to require funding. And these kinds of events are really great for getting the business development aspect that really can only be done in person accomplished. So I would really love to pitch to the community and at large, thinking about spending some money to send a couple people down to Bogota under the official banner of the NOA. I am considering going of my own accord, but if I went and paid for it by myself, then I would, kind of have to be obliged to promote my own business instead. I would much prefer to go down there with the initiative of promoting the NOA, and in fact, even I can do plenty of my own business promotion elsewhere. So I would really prefer to do it with that in mind from the start. So this is just something for the community to think about. We have about, I think 6 to 8 weeks or something like that before the conference. So we'll probably need to get these plans together pretty soon. But just wanted to put this out there in front of the community. We do have a very small, but it does exist. The treasury does exist, and most of that we will probably want to use for other initiatives. But if we can use some of this treasury to sponsor a couple people going down to Bogota and leading this panel, and also meeting and greeting with some of the folks in the Ethereum space that are important, we can really well position the NOA to receiving future grants, as well as connecting with the people in the industry that matter, and will get us future business opportunities. So a lot of this stuff can be done virtually too, so it's not the end of the world if it can't happen. But based on my previous experience in life, There's really nothing like a big developer conference to actually connect you very deeply with the rest of the community. Just there's some stuff that happens that doesn't happen virtually, and it tends to make things a lot easier. So I don't think that this isn't a trip to Amsterdam, for example. The Bogota is a lot cheaper of a city to stay in, and so that's kind of a good bang for your buck mindset that we can have about this too. Just wanted to throw that pitch out there. I think it's going to be really valuable, but we can certainly discuss this back and forth in the community. So with
one thing, Wonder, I'll even throw in that I saw is, I'm still trying to figure out a little bit of the structure of the DevCon. This would be my first DevCon attending, and one of the interesting things I did see is one they were just overwhelmed with just the sheer interest this year. I don't know if it's finally crypto is becoming mainstream, but their planners were just overwhelmed by the interest and the demand for tickets and space into this thing. So I think it's an excellent opportunity. But I did see that they had something interesting that we may want to consider for the next event, next DevCon. And I'm probably going to butcher the name, but I'll just call it a community of practice. But they were offering free space for Ethereum related organizations, and such as like NOA or e-stakers that would just have their members, they would get free tickets for their members to attend if they would kind of maintain an area, not necessarily a booth where they're showing commercial products, but maintain an area of interest to help any interested parties that are kind of wandering the events, where they could do kind of meet and greets and kind of learn it. So I could definitely see next time where NOAA sponsors, maybe in conjunction with these stakers or some of these other things, an Ethereum staking interest group where people could just do drop in and ask questions or see a node or see how easy it is to register or form a validator. And they would offer kind of the space and some tickets for the members to kind of have office hours or walk-in hours during these events. It was buried in their thing. I didn't see it till after the period had closed, but I thought for next year, especially once we figure out some of the workings, that it could really be beneficial to allowing more people to understand the opportunities that this affords.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a fantastic opportunity. Sort of almost like a reverse sponsorship where the conference would be sort of sponsoring our attendance at the conference. That's sounds like a fantastic opportunity. So we should. I definitely do think we should keep that in mind for future events. I plan to go to ETH Denver every year in general, just because I really love Denver and I love being out there, but. It's a lot harder to go to some of the other conferences that are held globally if you're not based very close to them. So we should definitely be on the lookout for opportunities like this. Like I said, I really think conferences sort of supercharge our biz dev stuff, puts it all into like a very concentrated timeline. Normally things take weeks and weeks to schedule out meetings and go back and forth and stuff like that, but many times you can have a conversation in an hour or even just 30 minutes with somebody that you've randomly met, and then you happen to make a great connection. So
we got 2 quick questions here. Danilo, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just wondering if there's a back of the envelope cost for sponsorship per individual. Like, I don't even know what the tickets would be to DevCon.
$350 or $320.
Oh, okay.
I checked yesterday; they're actually quite affordable.
Yeah.
I don't know what the lodging is.
I did look into lodging a little bit. I did not look into flights, which are sort of their own beast, and it will depend heavily upon where the individuals are coming from. But the lodging itself would most likely end up somewhere between about $150 to $300 a night. So that's not super cheap, but also not Amsterdam prices. So that's great. And that's for lodging that's very close to the venue. So that's, there's other, I did sort of a cursory look. I do think, Ken, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that we get 2 free tickets to the conference for being accepted as speakers. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. In fact, I actually think we might get maybe 5 or 6. It's a little hard to kind of understand the stuff, but it seems like for the panelists, they allow a ticket for the moderator and for the panelist. And I've been fortunate enough. I have another paper that was produced on some of the kind of smoothing pool modeling I did. So I've already got a ticket from that one. So Wanderer, you can kind of count on the moderator ticket for this one, and I believe our panelists are also comped a ticket as well too. So I could be incorrect on that, but I think we will get like 5 or 6 tickets for doing the panelists. So we could, each of our panelists that accepts, I believe we can offer them the ticket to DEF CON. I'm trying to get that confirmed. I know definitely the moderators are covered, but I also believe the panelists sitting on the panel are also covered. I'll try to figure that out. They're just so overwhelmed. It's kind of a little bit of madness to try to figure out. So they just said, be patient. More details will come.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question about as best as we can.
No, I think that's a great answer. It definitely gives a lot more color, and that's great. The last thing, and just whether I've been working with or I've known ambassadorship type programs, I know this is a very different audience in that the DevCon audience kind of ends at the door. But just out of curiosity, are the two proposed people, does anybody speak Spanish? I don't speak Spanish. I'm not trying to like come in, but like, is that a thing?
That's a great
consideration.
That is a fantastic question. I am terrible with languages, so if you're going to send me down there, then it's going to be English only. Unfortunately, the panel will be, of course, and everything at the conference, I believe, will be English. But I mean, my wife would be essentially leading me by the hand everywhere. She speaks Spanish, but not me. If there are any Spanish speakers, that Bogota obviously is a Spanish-speaking city, so that definitely, if you're interested in coming, then we could certainly use some Spanish speakers down there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We got one more question from Nacho. 1 second. Put you up.
Yes, hi. Well, I'm Spanish speaking. I'm from Argentina. We're planning to be in Bogota with our project. And I wanted to share something about these community spaces that you mentioned before on DevCon. The proposal period is not closed. It ends up on August 15. And there's still an opportunity to present one of these community hubs. So if anyone wants to join on doing that, I will be willing to help. They're basically the RFPs descriptions are on the DevCon forum. I can share the link on the Discord if you like. But there's still 1 week left to do it. If you like to do something like a Node Operator Association space.
Great to know. Yeah, and we would, if any of the Node Operator Association members want to, put on a talk, or if you have anything accepted, or you have another type of presence at DevCon, please let the server know so that we can support you.
Sure, I just sent you a forum post in general. I don't know if that's what you're referring to or if it's something else.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Thanks.
All right. Well, any other questions on the topic of DevCon? Any other comments?
I guess in general, I guess over the next a couple days, we can maybe look into this in more detail and come to community with a sort of budgeted, costed out view of what it would entail per person and come to a conclusion.
Yeah,
how many
absolutely.
we want to send.
Right now we're sort of a little lacking on details because we've only just received word that the talk was accepted, and we're still kind of trying to coordinate with the different protocols. But yeah, there's a couple things that for one, I'll go ahead and try to get a cost estimate together of a trip. The other side of things is that I want to echo something that Ken mentioned earlier. We really would love to see anyone and everyone inside the NOA community or outside the community give a feedback on or provide any kind of questions that you think might be good to ask these different protocols. The panel is completely undesigned at the moment beyond the idea. So we want to make sure that everybody, all your burning questions are answered as best we can. Once it's a rare thing to get all these different competing protocols in the same space at the same time. The space is, the whole industry is generally less competitive than it is cooperative at the moment, I think. But it's still kind of difficult sometimes to get everybody who's working from different angles all in the same room and all in the front of the same mic, all being recorded. So this is a rare opportunity that I think we really should use to our advantage. So if you have any of your own questions, no matter how spicy they are, please let us know.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I said that looking at you, Nashua. I know you got a lot of spice in there, and I want to hear it come out. We might have to temper it a little bit for the panels, but I promise that we will try to make sure that everybody's questions are answered, or at least the questions are posed. Whether the panelists answer them or not, that's up to them. All right. So. That is everything on our agenda today. It's officially on the agenda, but we have a little bit of time remaining, and so I want to let everybody, I want to give everybody the opportunity to ask questions or open up topics that are not on the agenda. Is there any question surrounding or comment surrounding anything that we've discussed already today, or anything that hasn't been brought up? Now's the time to do so. All right, I'm not seeing anything. Give you another 10 seconds to think about it. Okay. All right. Well, thanks to everybody so much. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for your participation in the NOA, and thank you so much for paying attention to our call today. If you have any questions that you come up with after we hang up, that's totally fine. Feel free to post them in general. And have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you hopefully sometime next week, Thursday, for the OBAL workshop.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Sweet. Thanks, guys.
Look forward to it. Thanks.
See ya.
See ya.
Thursday, July 7th. Good luck.
Thursday.